Welcome to a special edition and a new beginning and a new podcast with me and my boys, Zim Hude. Glad that we was able to get together. Zim, introduce them, let them know, which they should already know where your stuff is. Let them know about you, bro.
What's going on, bro? We are live, and we are doing something in the off season that is very, very special to us and Bengals fans all over the world. I am Zim Hude. You can catch me at Zim_Hude on Instagram. That is my favorite, social media platform. You can also catch me on just Zim Hude on Twitter. And then you just see me popping up on various stuff, popping up on Ace Boogie stuff. You're gonna see me anywhere. A couple of people I'm working with, but if you follow the Bengals, you'll see me around, and it is what it is.
Right, and get used to saying this, man. We for real.
Couple of people I'm working with, but if you follow the Bengals, you'll see me around, and it is what it is.
Right, and get used to saying this, man. Hold on 1 second. I got some audio issues going on real quick.
Sorry. I was like, bro, are you hearing that?
I'm like hearing something else. Okay, what's going on? All right, cool. But like I said, somebody said we should call it City Talk. That might be cool. We'll see what's up. We'll do a poll. But me and Zim are collabing together. Get used to seeing us together. Get used to hearing these podcasts. We're here. We're gonna try to keep this to 30 minutes. So definitely throw some comments in the chat. But we're here to talk about the Bengals. And the first thing that we're going to talk about, kicking things off, Zim, we're going to talk about Jonah Williams and the Clint Boling injuries and what our thoughts are on those. So what do you think? What do you think about the Jonah Williams injury? And then once you kind of talk about Jonah Williams and Clint, I think we're going to talk a little bit about what we think we should do and what the Bengals are likely to do.
Okay, so starting off for me, let's go into Jonah right away. First and foremost, throughout the all season, anybody knows me, I haven't been the biggest proponent of let's win the trenches. But throughout getting bullied all of last year, I saw it finally hit me. And then one thing about me is I'm going to admit when I'm wrong, and I'm definitely going to let you know when I'm right. Throughout the past, I've been telling people like, hey, let's get the firepower, let's get the ammo, let's get the John Rosses of the world. We could worry about the line later. We'll get it out quick. New coaching comes in. Jonah Williams comes in. John Jerry comes in. We signed at right guard. What's my guy's name?
We signed John Miller.
John Miller, John Jerry, Jonah. They even got Westerman taking first team reps. So we got a lot of different things going on where the focus was on the offensive line. I would have liked to see the same focus get really, really pushed to the defensive line to further the career of Geno Atkins. They didn't do that. But just staying on just the topic of offensive line. With the new focus being that and then saying, hey, we're going to use our workhorse running back in Joe Mixon, coupled with a couple of guys like Ronnie Harrison and all these guys like that, that'll be able to kind of help them out. I saw the focus, even with the second round pick with Sample. You're seeing the focus now get spread to like, let's win in the trenches, let's win this type of ball game, and fuse in the Ram style offense, which I really, really, truly love. And the number one thing that stuck out to me in the offseason was Marvin Lewis saying in an interview, I think that was on ESPN or something I posted, but the first thing he said is they got to fix the line. And that stuck out to me because he didn't speak on anything else with the Bengals unless it was positive. That was the only one negative. So that lets me know from the inside of the building, that was a really big problem for him. And the reason he would mention that is because I think that's a problem that he felt like he could never overcome. And maybe the management didn't give him what he needed. When Zach Taylor comes in, Jonah gets drafted. The first thing that Zach Taylor says is we can now play our very best players on any position on the offensive line. Those were the first things that he said. So now that Jonah Williams gets hurt for the whole entire season, it lets me know that their plan is awfully shook up. And the only way to resurrect that right now, in my mind, if you're going to come with that same formula and you're not going to throw in a towel, is to make a trade for someone. It can't be a BS free agent signing. It can't be a minimum. It's got to be a big deal. It's got to be Cordy Glenn level stuff. So Jonah Williams getting hurt is a huge deal. But we got to make sure that we aren't letting them off the hook and just saying, oh, well, Cordy Glenn slides over to the left side. Like, no, they had a plan. Cordy Glenn's at left guard. These things are changing. I would like to see them go forth with that plan because I don't want to hear a bunch of fluff like week 4, something we 1-3 or whatever. So in a hypothetical situation, them just saying, start talking about injuries and all that stuff like that. One thing that I thought was very, very unhealthy for the team is that if you go back to all the interviews in the offseason, Ace, you're going to see a lot of players saying, if healthy, we can play with the best of them. We can we can do this. Even AJ Green, everybody's saying it, right? What happens? Your number 1 draft pick gets hurt. So now this unhealthy, you know what I'm saying? If you keep on speaking that, well, if healthy, yeah. So now it does make me feel like now the players are saying, well, damn, we're not healthy. What happens when we go to, training camp? Then somebody goes down that is going to go down. Somebody's going to go down with something, right?
Right.
Do the players then start to doubt themselves? You know what I'm saying? And in order to take that away, I really, really think out of all the years and just the pattern that I've been following, the Bengals have to make a big push for something unlike they don't normally do and make a trade for a starting tackle. The only reason why I keep on bringing up this one name, and it's Trent Williams, is because Trent Williams is the only tackle that I can see. There are about 3 other tackles that are starter worthy that I've noted as well. But Trent Williams has made it known he is not playing for the Redskins ever again. He's 31. He is coming off an injury. The salary is somewhat friendly. I think that's the move for the Bengals if they're going to do it. And people say, well, what do you got to do to get him? You got to give up a second round, and you got to probably give up maybe another second round another year, or you couple that up with like a second, a 6th, and figure out a way to give them some cash, just some cash flow with the Redskins or something like that. Because he's made it known he's not going to play for them. He doesn't have faith in their training staff, ironically. But sorry to be long-winded on the first thing, but I tried to hit all of the things that you're saying, and then I wanted to push it back to you and see, what do you feel about Jonah Williams, the injury itself? Do you feel like that's something new? Do you feel like who's to blame? How about that? And how do you feel about like what I'm saying in regards to like them making a play for somebody, or do you think that they could just go with what they got? Because currently right now, you only got Bobby Hart, Cordy Glenn, who's injured all the time, and who's your other tackle? Alex Redmond? Who's the other? If you could slide him over there.
I think who's to blame in terms of Jonah getting hurt. I think it starts with Alabama, man. And you look at a lot of the players that we've taken from Alabama, they've all been hurt or they've all been damaged goods. Even going all the way back to Andre Smith, when we initially took him, he ended up having a broken foot and had some issues. Drake Kirkpatrick, when he came in, I believe he had some issues with his knee once he got there. AJ McCarron couldn't even throw. Like, he had to basically sit out his entire rookie season. So I think, in a sense, I could blame Alabama and Nick Saban, but I can also blame the Bengals, doctors, because, like, how does something like that get past the medical? And it seems like this happens frequently with them. And I hate to keep beating a dead horse, but there has to be something there. Like, when there's smoke, there has to be some kind of fire there with the Bengals doctors. It's just a lot of the things that they do are questionable. And it seems like it probably started at Alabama, because if you look at some of his pictures, he's wearing a brace on the area where he was injured at. So to me, it seems like that's possibly the reason. But to me, it's a drastic blow, man, because you talk about this offensive line that was clearly the weak point, and for us to pass on different positions and still sign Bobby Hart. At first, I honestly didn't think that we would actually look at tackle. I thought that the Bengals would be satisfied with that, which I didn't want them to do. I don't think any of us wanted them to be satisfied with Bobby Hart. We kind of wanted them to mull over some other free agent options, but they didn't do that. And so when Jonah was there, it was like the perfect pick for us, because how often when we have a need are we able to get the number one guy at that position? And that's what I believe Jonah was. And for him to start day one at left tackle showed what they thought about him, like how highly they thought of him. And when you look at the Rams, the first thing that they did when McVay got there and tried to turn things around, he went and got Big Wit. So the left tackle, in my opinion, is probably one of the cornerstones of his offense. And like you said, they had a plan where Cordy Glenn moved from left tackle to left guard, which I loved, because I felt like if he's above average left tackle, he could be a pretty good guard, especially with him being the size that he was. I was just ready for that left side to just completely maul holes open for Joe, and then for that to be the strong side of the line. But basically, it was a nightmare for us. The Bengals were very tight-lipped about it. That's how we should have known something was wrong there. Obviously, like you said, they need to mull over their options. I think, like you said, Trent Williams is definitely somebody that needs to be on their radar and needs to have that same sort or same sense of urgency he had with the Cordy Glenn trade, like you said. Now, one thing we know is that the Bengals are cheap, but we know that they have the money to do this because they were courting Gerald McCoy. So you should have some type of money or some type of funds to actually bring Trent Williams in. But even if they didn't want to do that, I'll play devil's advocate here. I'll shoot the Bengals some bail. They could go out and sign a guy like Donald Penn. He's a veteran. He's there. He's not going to cost that much. It's getting close to training camp starting. You could probably get him in for probably $3 to $4 million, which is crazy.
Maybe less, but you got to pull him out of retirement, because he is somewhat in retirement, and I don't know if that impacts the money that he was supposed to make. Was he a free agent when he went before he went into this brief like this? They're calling it retirement, but they've been saying that he would come back to football.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, and things, I try not to read into too many things on social media, but when the NFL, or I want to say it might have been the NFL page or the Bengals Instagram page, announced it, he was actually in the comments saying that he felt sorry for Jonah. So I don't know if that meant that he thought that he could possibly be in contact with Cincinnati to come in and help replace him or what. But like you said, I don't know if it's the retirement or not. But I think they need to find out at this point, to be honest with you. The only good to me that kind of came out of this is the fact that Westerman is finally getting a look at left guard.
First team reps.
And that draws me to the second part of the question. We kind of talked about Clint Boling, and you and I have both heard that things on the Clint Boling front are not sounding good right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just throw it out there that we need to kind of, and if you kind of follow the Bengals, you can kind of read between the lines. Maybe we need to be expecting Clint Boling not to be there, because it doesn't seem like, unless things drastically change between now and training camp and the preseason, can we really count on him to be there?
Man, at this point, I mean, the couple people that reported it, none of it's official people, but people like Joe Goodberry, and it's two other guys on Twitter. I don't remember their names, but they're saying that they're possibly career-threatening stuff. So when I start hearing that, I'm thinking maybe possibly the year off anyway. And before the year even started, Paul Dehner Jr., who is now with the Athletic, was saying that out of all the Bengals, he made the most sense as a potential cut because he had no dead money left on his contract.
Right,
$6.5 million that the Bengals could get back, even if they did want to cry like a river to those fans and tell us that they don't have the funding or they don't have the money there. Like you said, they went after McCoy and everything like that. So they couldn't have been thinking that they were going to get McCoy for any less than $8. I mean, what did he sign for, like 10 or 12 or what? I mean, he signed for more than what I thought he should have, but
Right.
I don't know. But this another reason why I brought this up too is Paul Dehner Jr. also said that be on the lookout for them to make a move at the tackle position. So that's someone that's inside the building pretty much. I mean, although he's not, with the Inquirer anymore. That's someone telling you that through his people, they're pretty much telling us that they do need to make a play for a tackle. Because if you all just go look at the Bengals depth chart, I don't even know who they probably have listed at tackle that is known. I mean, like, I think DeCoste, the rookie or whatever, is listed maybe as I think they might even have him listed as a guard. They can move that stuff around all they want, but legitimately, if one person goes down, I mean, you're in panic mode. So I've heard Donald Penn. I got a couple other names, but I want to kind of look at some salary stuff before too, because I got two other names, and I want you guys to, if you are listening to this or you're watching this on YouTube or you're in here live, I want you guys to tell us some guys that you want the Bengals to sign. What I want to do is go look at the salary thing. I want to see if it makes sense before I tell you what I'm thinking. But there are a couple guys that aren't too happy, that are starters or borderline starters. And then, but be on the lookout for that. So it's not a thing. A lot of people say, Zim, that's just wishful thinking. No, it's something that has to be done. You have to have bodies for preseason first and foremost. So somebody like a Donald Penn or somebody like that, to me, makes sense. Like, you got to have some type of vet. I look for them to sign two guys, honestly. Like, somebody at the league minimum, somebody like an undrafted free agent, they're going to sign that guy. That's going to happen. I'm saying on top of that, they need to go make a real play for somebody. They don't really have too many assets that people want. Erickson was the one name, that doesn't translate in the market for a tackle and a wide receiver though. So they don't really have anything. Nobody, like, people were like, well, just trade Cordy Glenn. Like, nobody wants. After Cordy Glenn's last year, he lost all his value. Now he's overpaid. Had he just played average football and been healthy, yeah, that would have made sense to do something to start to get like somebody less injury prone. But with the Clint Boling thing, I'm not too worried about the guard position, because if you look at the depth chart on that, we got about 8 guards. So there's going to be a battle royale in camp. You all are going to see Westerman battle John Jerry. Now, one thing about Jerry that I've looked at, though, people were asking me a little bit about him. He was a starter for the Giants for, I believe, 4 years. He always graded very, very good with Pro Football Focus. He did not play this past year. I don't know the full story on it, but most people that I've talked to have just said it's simply because Will Hernandez came, they drafted him. Will Hernandez is going to get the start. Believe it or not, John Jerry played all 4 games in preseason last year as well. Had a 72 grade Pro Football Focus grade as well. Only gave up 2 pressures. In his worst year, he's only given up 5 sacks. All the other years that he played as a starter, he only gave up 2 sacks. He gave up 4 one other year as well. I had it pulled up. I wish I could tell you the years or whatever, but he's legit as well. So people are sleeping on that pickup a little bit because he was out of the league last year. He's a legit plug and play type of guy. I would say a step up from like an Andre Smith. So him and Westerman have been taking first team reps with Boling being out. So I never was too worried about that. You got the kid Jordan that you just signed. So that's not my problem. And then you always got Trey Hopkins, who's old reliable. Like, he could, if you had to, he could play tackle. But the problem with him is the arm length is so short. You go against some of the elite guys out there, I just don't see Trey Hopkins holding up with those guys. But to me, that's the offensive line in a nutshell. But I actually do you blame the training staff, because a lot of people definitely messaged me and said, hey, it's the training staff.
I think it has to be the training staff a little bit, because I just fail to believe that they didn't know that there was an existing injury there. And I think the Pro Football Doc, who's ex-NFL doctor, put out a whole article talking about that. It was likely that injury started way before he even got to the Bengals. Like it started at Alabama. So I definitely see that. And just to clarify, I know some people in the chat asked what Clint Boling's injury was. It looks like it's actually a back injury dating all the way back to October of last year, and he still has not returned. So this was something that he played through. It's something that we've heard is a huge injury for him. Even I've heard through the grapevine, through Dave Lapham, that he's just waiting to see, the Bengals are kind of waiting to see if he can actually even pass a physical to get back onto the field. So hopefully that happens. But someone wants to talk about your guy, John Ross. He's been in the news a lot lately. Obviously changing the numbers to number 11, which I like. Where do you see John Ross's role going forward in this offense, Zim?
I believe he could take on. When you look at this offense, let me ask you this, Ace, do you look at this like they can emulate the Rams?
To be honest with you, I don't want to sound like a homer, but I think that they can be better than the Rams. I think that we actually have more weapons than the Rams, because you got Todd Gurley, right? But we also have Joe Mixon. You've got Tyler Eifert. They had Taylor Higbee and stuff like that, but he's no Tyler Eifert. We've got AJ Green. They had Brandon Cooks. Two different type of receivers, but Brandon Cooks is not on AJ Green's level. We've got Tyler Boyd. We've got John Ross. So to me, collectively, and that's a big if because all of these guys have to stay healthy, which you could say AJ Green, John Ross, and Tyler Eifert aren't the healthiest guys. And then you also had Gio. So to me, I honestly feel like we have more weapons. I'm not saying we're going to be as good as they were, because obviously that's kind of built up over the past 2 years. But I look at our offense or our team with what we have, and I think we actually have better tools overall than the Rams.
Okay. So, all right, the reason why I asked you this,
obviously they're killing us on offensive line.
Okay, so the reason why I asked you this is because the average fan equates success in the NFL based on statistical merit, right?
Right.
Like, which is really weird in John Ross's case, because I mean, how many touchdowns did he have? 6 or 8?
I think it was.
I'm not sure.
Keep going. Check on that.
Look that up for me, please.
I got you.
All right. So in a normal circumstance, you'll say John Ross has 6, 8 touchdowns. That's a pretty good damn season. In some of TJ Houshmandzadeh's best seasons, he probably had 8 touchdowns, right?
Seven touchdowns, but we were in the ballpark.
Oh, how many?
7.
Okay. All right. So I say that to say this. John Ross's best plays, John Ross's best assets, John Ross's role for this team sometimes is a decoy. Sometimes John Ross doesn't have to have a touchdown, or he doesn't have to have this big wow moment to merit his success with me personally. Because on a lot of those Tyler Boyd catches, a lot of the early AJ Green success this past year, when AJ Green was going nuts, John Ross was running clear outs. And to me alone, that's something that they didn't, when LaFleur was there, they didn't have. And so the average fan that just, if John Ross gets 8 targets, which he doesn't get, let's say John Ross gets 6 targets in a game, and out of those targets, he drops 1. A John Ross hater, or a person that didn't want to draft John Ross and is going to live with Patrick Mahomes, or whoever you want to name for the rest of your life, they're always going to be against John Ross. There's no way to change it. It's like being a Trump supporter. He could grab a million pussies and they're still going to ride with him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like this concept of like, you are who you like. But as it pertains to his success, it's not about how many touchdowns or how good I think he's going to be. His role, he might come out of this year with 4 touchdowns, 450 yards. And I might say John Ross is the reason why we made the playoffs. and it wouldn't be me being a homer. It just be me rewatching games, and I'm just looking at the formations. Like a John Ross game versus a LaFell game, the line when we played Pittsburgh, it's totally different. The alignment of the field. Like when we played the Panthers or whatever, in the Falcons, the alignment of the field is night and day. That alone to me is valuable. Now, does that warrant me saying he had a great season? No, but it does make me feel like there's more to him that I'm of value than the average person does. So I asked you the Rams questions because a lot of the players in their system, like Reynolds, Cooper, before he got hurt or whatever, kind of took away a lot of catches from a lot of other guys, and sometimes he cleared out like different little he runs these great dig routes or whatever. He's a very good slot receiver. He does a lot of good things, even blocking wise. The receivers in this Rams offense, this Bengals offense are now going to be asked to block more than ever. And if John Ross goes in there and blocks how he was before, and he's a lot better than a lot of other guys at blocking. Than people realize, which is crazy. If he does that very well, if he's running his route and he doesn't and he cuts down on the drops and he walks out of the season healthy, you're going to see teams, people from the inside of from Bengals organization, like our fans and stuff, they'll say, yeah, let him walk, let him have 4 touchdowns. Do you know the market for a guy 4'2" that could stay healthy and do all these things that I'm saying? Like, think about it. 2 teams tried to trade for Alex Erickson. The average fan doesn't understand Alex Erickson's value to this offense, but I think they will if the team is successful. And so if the team is successful, I think it will all be a product of all these guys doing really well in the system. And you might not see big numbers from anybody. Tyler Boyd might have 800 yards, but it doesn't mean he wasn't as good as this past year. He's just working in a system that is way more advantageous for offense to work in space. All these years, Andy, if you go look at a lot of those Ross passes, they're the routes that he doesn't like the most. They're like 5 and 10 and outs. The worst route that he had that I noticed that he has trouble looking the ball in when it goes to his outside shoulder. They did that in very, very tight windows, and it'll be a very, very bad time, like third downs and stuff. Just him in space for any team, the Eagles, the Patriots, any of these guys, he hit the open market. You're going to see a price on him that you never ever were expecting, and Bengals fans will be like, "Why the fuck would somebody pay him that much?" But I'm telling you now, like, his value is greater than all of that just by clearing out. It's the reason why like these guys like Hayward Bay are still even in the NFL. Like just the speed alone and being available. Man, people will pay. And then you're telling me he just had 7 touchdowns in the National Football League, and people discount that as though like that's nothing? There are players that have played 7 years in the National Football League at wide receiver and didn't have 7 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like this big audience that's going to say, he sucks. He didn't, you know what I'm saying? He just had 7 touchdowns. But his success is going to be, I'll be looking at the overall record. Right. If they go 9-7, I'll know that John Ross probably stayed healthy the majority of the season. And he had a big role, whether you saw him go crazy or not. But I tell you what, you give him the ball in open space, I think everybody's opinion of him will change. If you go look at all of those drops, they're always 10 and out, 5 and out stuff in tight windows, the reactionary passes. The way that this Ram system is going to go, they're in tight formations where a defender's worst nightmare is to get close up tight on that line like that and have John Ross just go straight across the face of the defense and just be running a drag across the whole thing. Because there's nobody in the NFL that can keep up with that. And teams will pay that guy $10 million just for that. You know what I'm saying? So
agreed. So I haven't been a huge John Ross fan. I don't think that, but I'm a realist when it comes to John Ross. Um, the reason why, and I just want to explain real quick, the only reason why I didn't like John Ross is that we took him as high as we did, given who was on the board and given the medical. That really was my problem, was mostly the medical. But like you said, a guy like John Ross can be explosive in this offense if utilized correctly. I think a lot of the shortcomings for John Ross isn't attributed to his talent. I don't think it's him. I think it's the way that the Bengals did not know how to use him. The Bengals were notoriously, and that coaching staff that Marvin Lewis had was notorious for not being able to use guys the right way. I actually think I'm not afraid to say I think John Ross is actually going to have a big year. I think that he's going to be in the right offense.
So what's the big year though?
A big year to me, I would say that John Ross is going to have 10 touchdowns. I think he will have 700 yards, 768 yards receiving, and 10 touchdowns. I think that they're going to use him the right way. And to be honest with you, those 10 touchdowns are going to be I'm willing to say one of them are going to be a rushing touchdown. One or two, he might sneak around on an end around or some kind of trick play. But I really think that Zach Taylor, that's the advantage of having an offensive-minded head coach, is because Zach Taylor is going to utilize him in a way to play to his strengths. And we saw him, dominate in the red zone. But we all know, just like you just said, you need to get John Ross in space. He's going to be able to do that. Teams are going to be worried about A.J. Green. They're going to be worried about Tyler Boyd now. It's the perfect opportunity for Ross to jump in there and have a year. And, I mean, usually by the third year in the NFL, that kind of says what a guy is going to be. And I think that the new number, I think that his head is in a totally different place right now, where he's not thinking about what if Marvin Lewis is going to play me or not. He's not thinking about all of these. I have to make an impact. I think the new coaching staff and everything will bode well for him, and I think that he will take the step this year.
And see, I'm 100% with you. John Ross's biggest hurdle is always going to be his mental. That's going to be his biggest problem throughout his whole career. It's never going to be about his abilities. And if anybody knows anything about football, it's never going to be his ability to play football, because there are so many players that are faster, that have been just as fast as him, but they always had straight line speed. I hadn't seen too many people. I mean, even somebody like D-Jack, who I know you like a lot.
Right.
He can't run the route tree that John Ross can run. And if D-Jack is borderline, I think you were telling me about this the other day, or somebody else was telling me, he's borderline Hall of Famer. And I'm saying this guy has the physical abilities, to do that. And it would be a shame. But this is what I think you're going to get, though. It may not be 10 touchdowns, but I'm going to tell you this. They will utilize him correctly, and they will run these. They're going to run these long-ass post routes that they run for Cooks all the time. They get you in this tight formation. I watched a bunch of Rams big plays. Right. They get you really, really tight formations. They'll have Ross almost like in a tight end type formation. Because keep in mind, you're only gonna have two wide outs. They very rarely are gonna run a 3 wide set. It's gonna be 2 wide outs, 1 tight end. They in a real tight formation. It's gonna be heavy. Play action is gonna be run 70% of the time. So when we come off the play action, John Ross is just streaking right across. This is what Cooks does. And Tyreek Hill does this all day with the Chiefs too. It just streaks and goes right across the deep. And see, the linebackers are reacting to the play action. By the time the safety gets a hold of it, he's too fast, and it's just it's almost like a math problem. A plus B equals C. When A goes to when he goes 20 yards in the middle of the field, and then by the time he gets to the corner, there's not a safety in the world that can meet him over there. And Tyreek Hill does it time and time again. Brandon Cooks did it time and time again. You're going to see so much of that. And the reason why I know you're going to see that and a lot of success from John Ross just in that is because it's almost like when he's in the red zone and you're trying to keep up with him and he got a lot of those touchdowns. there's nobody that can stay in front of him for longer than 4 or 5 seconds. So in this red zone type of thing, it's almost like they're playing like a red zone type of offense because it's really bunched in all the time. And then he just gets in with somebody and then goes across, like goes horizontally across the field some type of way. Even if it's like a yard or two at a time, it's just like this horizontal thing. Like I'm going to bring some highlights so I can show y'all exactly what I'm saying. But it's just almost no way to stop it. Patriots had an answer for it. And there were some things that the Rams could have did from a double tight end standpoint that could have like worked out. I think Zach knows, and I always think that's why he drafted Drew Sample. I think when I go back and look at that game, they had a lot of mismatches at the tight end position because they were ready for all that Cook stuff. And then you could look at it, and then they didn't utilize Gurley correctly. So it's just so many players that we have that's what I'm just trying to tell you is that there's no way, in my mind, I don't see him get 10 touchdowns, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have a successful season. And that's what I was trying to make. AJ Green may barely get 1,000 yards, but it doesn't mean that it's not one of the best seasons that he's ever had. Because he's grabbing double teams every time he's out. That means that I got Tyler Boyd one-on-one all the time. If Eifert's healthy, I mean, there's no one that can stop him on the seam route. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like this system. And then you got to think, too, they're going to throw it to Joe Mixon 50, 60 times more than what he did the whole entire last year. So it's just not enough footballs to go around for all of this production from everybody.
Right.
And that's the Rams offense. And that in itself, to me, equates to success. Because if Erickson's getting 300 yards, that means other people got off too.
Right.
And Ross might only have 450, but I bet you he got off on a couple games. That's what's gonna make us like. I don't want to be too long-winded, but that's what's gonna take us to the next level. So many times, how many times have you watched the game and you felt like the defense had no one else to guard except AJ Green? You know,
all the time.
All the time, right? And then even when we're watching the game, you see two people on them, you're like, shit, just throw it up to AJ. I don't think we're gonna feel like that no more. I think you'll be sitting there saying, look, like before the snap, the same thing Andy Dalton's gonna be saying, he's gonna be looking like there's no way that you can get you. I've already isolated one guy over here. I know I got one guy over here. There's no way you could put two people on Tyler Boyd. And I know that there's nobody in the slot that can cover Tyler Boyd for a whole game by itself. I don't care what slot guy you put on him. There's no guy that can stay with AJ Green by himself for a whole entire game without tons of safety of him. There's no linebacker that can guard Eifert. So we should be saying that throughout the year. And if somebody goes down, we still got all these guys that have been productive throughout the year. So we're not sitting there looking like it. And that is success to me. And that's how we will win, the play. That's how we will go back to the playoffs to me. Is if everybody's even. If we're relying on AJ Green to have a 1,500-yard season, that's dope to me because I'm an AJ Green fan. And I got bragging rights, but it doesn't equate to wins to me at all.
Right. Very, very good points there. We are running a little overtime, but we did want to talk about something outside of the Bengals, and we want to talk about NBA free agency. So what I'm going to do, Zim, is I'm going to give us both 2 minutes each to kind of talk about NBA free agency. So I'll go ahead and start the timer now, and you can go ahead.
All right. I don't even know where to begin. I've just been watching a ton of free agency, as this has been going on because I know, like you guys, I'm a sports fan above all. I love the Bengals, but I just love sports. So a lot of my attention's been going to that. I'm not a Lakers fan. I wouldn't call myself a big time LeBron fan, but one thing I always I always tell people, my son, he's 3. I want my son to look at LeBron the way I look at Jordan and stuff. And I always want LeBron to have success. So when he gets weapons and stuff like that, like I'm like rooting for it. I can't sit there and say I'm gonna put on a Lakers jersey, but he just means so much to the culture to me. It's like when LeBron wins, I feel like I win in a way. And people that go against LeBron are kind of funny, like kind of weird to me. I always want to be like, why don't you like him? And, you know, I always ask these questions like that. But this free agency has been crazy to me. The next move that I think you're going to see, now, mind you all, we're filming this on July 8th. So Kawhi Leonard is now a Clipper with Paul George, they're going to be battling out in the Staples Center, which is amazing for basketball. Also, Avery Bradley just signed with the Lakers earlier today. I think they have a chance at Kyle Korver. It's so many dominoes. The one thing that people forget about, and I'm saying this now, and I know you like the Lakers, is people keep on saying everybody got these big twos. Kyle Kuzma could be a big three type, because you got to think Anthony Davis is going to get a lot of attention. LeBron is going to be scaled down a little bit, but LeBron is LeBron, right? Kuzma has so many opportunities for game-winning shots. He's going to have so many opportunities for ISOs. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see Kyle Kuzma like with this new added pressure on him, because to me, he's the closest thing to my favorite player of all time, Penny Hardaway. And although he doesn't play point, the stature, the way he plays, his release, that's why I brought that up. I saw the Magic shirt. I'm a Kuzma fan. I'm not a Lakers fan. It's crazy now that I'm thinking of him. I'm like, damn, I'm gonna be watching Lakers games like rooting for like Kuzma, like I don't know.
Oh, for me, like you said,
I love it. I wish the NFL was like that. I wish the NFL would be so dope if we could just move players around like that same way. Right. And on the next CBA, the next thing, they need to have whatever lockout they need to and demand their guaranteed money and get into these short contracts. The beauty of free agency now is like the longest you get is a 4-year. Right. You know, before, I mean, like we was talking about Gilbert Arenas before we came on. I mean, it was like I think he got like a 6-year for like 111. Like at the time, like that's how they were getting it. But that NBA money is guaranteed. So like it's easier to trade those pieces when it's guaranteed like that, like because you get money off the books and long story, but
yeah, for me, I would probably say. So I know you guys are probably looking like, how is this dude a Lakers fan because he has on a Magic shirt? And long story short, I moved to Orlando. You guys that have been following me, I moved to Orlando about 2 years ago. So I'm a diehard Lakers fan, but I still rock with the Magic a little bit. I've been to a couple of their games. I got this shirt. I think I actually took my kids to a trick-or-treating thing, and this is something that I work out in. So I'm not like a super Magic fan, but I do want them to do well. I do root for them since I'm new to the city here. They are the basketball team that's in town, but of course, when the Lakers come up in Orlando, I'm gonna be out there in the purple and gold. But I will say this, like you said, free agency, man. If they can emulate that same thing with the NFL, it would be crazy because, you know, I'm a Lakers fan, so I'm constantly F5ing every Lakers Reddit, every Twitter timeline. I'm trying to see where's Kawhi going to go. And to me, it was just crazy because it kind of exposed a lot of guys who had inside takes and stuff like that. And you just didn't know where a guy like Kawhi was going to go. But when he chose the Clippers, it was crazy because it happened in the middle of the night. And to me, I'm also a Russell Westbrook fan. So I was kind of mad for Russell Westbrook because Paul George forced his way out of there. And the narrative with Westbrook has always been nobody wants to play with Russell Westbrook. You know, he's a selfish player. And it just made him look even worse. And for me, it was just like I kind of looked at the Thunder like, you guys are a horribly run organization. I don't care of draft picks. You literally traded away 2 MVP caliber players. Russell Westbrook basically is going to leave you now. You lost Paul George. You let him basically manipulate you into trading him to a Western Conference opponent that you'll have to see for the next foreseeable future. To me, I had a lot of mixed feelings about it. I understand why Kawhi did what he did. But from a Lakers standpoint, I went from oh man, what are we gonna do to hearing that we're bringing in DeMarcus Cousins, who's been my favorite center, honestly, since he was on the Kings. That was like my favorite center when people weren't even talking about him. So we rebounded and grabbed him. We got Danny Green, the 3-and-D guy that we needed. Anthony Davis, I mean, just looking at this lineup, hearing today that LeBron is going to play point guard, like that is going to be problem.
That's hard. They're trying to make him Magic Johnson 2.0 though, like that whole time. I'm gonna tell people this too. They're gonna put a lot of pressure on A.B. Bradley to shoot, but from a defensive standpoint, he will lock up.
Yes, he would definitely lock up.
Like that's the most slept on like signing. Like I could have did without them getting Boogie Cousins. Like they could keep him. Like when you tear your Achilles on your jumping leg, that's totally different. Kevin Durant tore his Achilles on his non-jumping leg, your right leg. As a shooter, that's why he'll be fine.
Right.
Boogie Cousins will ever be good again because
I'll tell you this about Boogie.
He never played above the rim. He always was like, he never played above the rim. I'm trying to tell you.
The thing that I like about Boogie is not just I don't expect him to be Boogie before the Achilles injury, right? But he averaged 16 and 8 with the Golden State Warriors. But the thing that I like about him is it reminds me of when we had Paul Gasol and Andrew Bynum. Paul Gasol played so much better because he was a 7-footer playing power forward, which is what Anthony Davis will be able to do playing with DeMarcus Cousins. So it's like, okay, everybody's talking about the Clippers, but how is Paul George playing, a stretch 4? How is he going to guard Anthony Davis? Like that's not going to happen. Like he's a 7-foot dude. So for me, I don't need DeMarcus Cousins to go back to being the 50-point guy that he was before, but I do need him to be there and kind of be like Andrew Bynum, because Andrew Bynum was always in and out of the lineup because he had problems with his knees. But when he was there, you saw the difference. When you look at the Lakers, the last time we went to the finals against the Magic, Andrew Bynum was there. We were a better team. The year before, we lost to the Celtics. Why? Because Andrew Bynum wasn't there. So Paul Gasol had to play center.
Andrew Bynum? Hey,
by Kevin Garnett.
Hey, look, for you young Zim, you young who they fans right now. When Andrew Bynum was in the league, he was always laughing. Like he was a joke, bro. Like
he was a joke at first. At first, he was a joke.
He real young. Andrew Bynum is JaVale McGee 2.0. He's like that same guy. He's like he got the abilities, but he's like a goofball, and like people don't pay him attention. Hey, look, but I just thought that was so funny because at the time, like Bynum was trash. You really are a Lakers fan. I do want to do this before we leave out, bro. I want to give a shout out to because I just discovered this chat this whole time. I've been looking over here and I didn't do this. I want to give a shout out to my man Vernon Lawson, my man Light 478, Fuse. What's up? What's up, Douglas? That's the OG. Hey, Tristan Wright. What's up? Bengals for life. What's up, bro? Raphael. What's up, bro? Appreciate y'all coming in, checking out this new YouTube / podcast. We need names. So and you could DM me, you could message my man Ace. Actually, on the YouTube comments, come in with your best names for this new collab that we're trying to work on, and we're going to do like a poll, and I might have a prize for you guys if you come up with the best name. So we need the best name for the Stripe City Zim Hude mix. I did want to give a shout out to Rampage, P&D, some of these guys I never even seen your name before, but I appreciate you so much. Cincy Mel 79, Zachary Stemple, what's up? Jose Frank, what's up? TJ Patterson, what's up, bro? Who they,
for sure.
I had to say that. Appreciate y'all coming. Any closing remarks from you, Ace?
Nah, man, I'm just excited that we're able to get together, Zim. I've been a fan of yours for a while. I know the community loves that we're coming together, so look forward to this, and we will be talking about a whole bunch of different stuff, mainly the Bengals, but we will throw in an NBA free agency or any breaking news that might be in there. So definitely be on the lookout for this. You guys take it easy, and as usual, we'll leave you guys with a who dey.
Who dey? I'm out. Send all y'all.